grasp. You are not a physicality. And just like some of the speakers said yesterday, I believe it was Mr. Green who talked about, there is a soul and it's 22 grams. I think they've measured that in body weight. That is really who you are. And connecting to who that person really is, what that essence is all about, you begin to realize, oh my God, I am not at all who I thought I was. And I'm purposely being vague because I don't necessarily want to tell you who I am, other than to say that who I am here on earth in this lifetime and the mistakes that I have made, on some level I knew better not to make those mistakes. Okay? But we do. We experiment. We create. As far as the meaning of life, they would never tell me what that was exactly. All they would say, it just is, you are creating your own adventure. Okay? So again, the responsibility is on me. As far as mentoring, to want to talk and to speak, the idea was to just keep it very, very simple. To just share their perspectives and let the people do whatever they wanted with it. And it doesn't matter whether anyone believes it or not. People know truth. People know bullshit. Eventually it all comes to the surface. It has to. Because all of you are just like me. You all know better. You know what's real. It's just a question of detaching ourselves from our addiction to physicality. And that's what it is now. It's become an addiction because the focus is on the physicality. We're not objective anymore. As a soul, when you have an out-of-body experience and you detach from your physical form, you are completely objective. You have a 360-degree peripheral view. Okay? And that's because you're objective. You're not addicted. You're not stuck in the body or addicted to the body. And that's the part that they have been working on with me the most, is to actually feel and know that essence of myself as much as possible. So when we talk about mentoring, the mentoring is to get us from where we are here to self-empowerment. That's what I'm talking about. Once we have achieved self-empowerment, and it won't take long, folks. It really won't take long. We will know exactly what to do because we are spiritual beings. We are eternal. There is no age to us. And that's not a metaphysical blind. That is a reality. So the mentoring is to help us move out of our addiction to physicality into full power as spiritual beings. And it isn't full of dogma. It isn't any of that. It's all about introspection, voluntary introspection. That's what it is.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Robert Singer. Thank you for your talk. A few of the people that I've talked to here probably already know that I think there's an off-planet game that has a goal to trash the planet, basically to do environmental damage and cause pollution. In fact, what I claim is if they win the game, that's when they get the New World Order, 500 million of us for slaves. And so my observation about your talk here is basically going to talk about the Federal Reserve. And just to let you know, I'm a published author on the internet, including I'm on G. Edward Griffin's website, which you probably know. He wrote The Creature of Jekyll Island.
Okay.
And my position is the Federal Reserve isn't evil because they print our money and make us pay interest. They're evil because the Federal Reserve financed and created our consumer society from a debt-based monetary system.
I don't agree. Keep going.
Well, but I'm just telling you, I'm published on G. Edward Griffin's website, and he's the world authority on the Federal Reserve, and he agrees with me there'd be no industrial revolution, there would be, first of all, we could go back to the French Revolution. Unless you think the House of Rothschild is God, then Providence really wasn't involved in the Declaration of Independence or the French Revolution, because the French Revolution makes no sense to Chartier or Tocqueville. They looked at it and said, why would serfs and slaves be able to rise up and become the middle class? You'd get out your guillotine and you'd cut off their heads. You wouldn't allow them to take over. And in fact, Tocqueville says there'd be no French Revolution without the mini Ice Age.
Okay.
Those serfs and slaves didn't rise up because of social, economic, or political reasons. They rose up because somebody didn't give them any bread. And that's because the House of Rothschild bankrupted the French government with 7 years of wars. I see that I'm going to lose my platform here.
We've got to move on.
Hang on. I'm just inviting you to ask a question rather than give a seminar.
Well, I did ask him a question. I told him I believed he was wrong about the Federal Reserve.
That's a statement, it's not a question.
I'll stand down. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Collier. Thanks for being here today. I wanted to ask you something about something you mentioned in your interview before. You mentioned that an ancient race called the Pt08 created human beings probably so long ago. I wondered if you could just elaborate on that, because I always just wondered about it ever since you said it. Thanks.
It is believed that an ancient race, some of them call them the founders, other cultures call them the Pt08, created not only the wormholes, but created most of the physicality in what we know as our universe. Because as they travel, they are finding civilizations and the ruins of civilizations far beyond anything that even they know. And we're talking 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th density space travelers who are traveling not only in moving in our physicality and other physicalities, but even their own. The wormholes is the best example that I've been given. No advanced space race has any idea how they were actually built, but we know that they exist. In fact, there are several that have snapped connecting our galaxy to some of the other nearby galaxies. They've snapped, and no one knows how to fix them because we don't even know how they were built. So.
Hi, I'm Dan Bender, the one who's working on the streaming, and I was asked by the streaming audience, which is now up to 1,500 members currently watching, and I think we've probably had over 10,000 that have tuned in on this particular segment. And I picked, thank you. I've kind of picked 3 quick questions, hopefully they're quick, that I was asked to pass on. They're randomly chosen, so they may not be the best ones we've got out there, but what the heck. One of the first ones was, what free energy devices do you know about?
One I know of is magnetic. It's essentially was invented by a gentleman in Tennessee that was just a bit larger than a shoebox. And it was generated by magnetics. And it had an engine inside of it, and it spun. Once you started it, it would power a home completely independent no matter where it was. And I understand that the gentleman and the technology vanished about 8 years ago. He tried to get a patent on it, and that's when he basically went off the grid.
Okay, next question.
Because he demonstrated that technology. I just wanted to finish. Okay. He actually demonstrated that technology.
Okay.
And that he had began building that technology back in 1976.
Second question I have is, can mentoring happen on the internet? Now, I have to admit,